Public tears from a young man who's been so strong. Alex McKinnon back at Hunter Stadium and leading the opposing teams out onto the hallowed ground where he was realising a dream that was cut short by a tackle in Melbourne in March. His rugby league career is over, but support from fans is only growing.
Very overwhelming, and I'm not one to really take publicity or anything to heart or anything like that, but this has been unreal.
I think he's a real inspiring young guy, and I think, again, typifies he comes from Aberdeen up in the valley, and I think people really resonate with what Newcastle Hunter Valley is all about.
People braved pretty awful weather to show their support in massive numbers.
I feel sorry for him, but he's a real inspiration. He's a really cool guy.
Alex's proud family members travelled down from Aberdeen.
He is our cousin and we like the Knights.
Joining strangers and superstars who've joined the McKinnon team.
A lot of people like to report on the bad things the rugby league is doing, but this is just a great thing that it shows what the rugby league community is all about, banding together and getting behind a good cause.
Alex's horrible injury touched many communities, none more so than the Hunter. But if there's one thing Novocastrians do well, it's support their own.
Newcastle, that's what we do.
And while it wasn't Newcastle's day on the field, today was about so much more. Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Penalties and push and shove overshadowed all else in the early stages as Souths hosted Wests. Midway through the half, Jared Ratuma and Jason Strickleton put the Lions in front. The Rosellas had plenty of chances, but simple mistakes proved costly. Wests finally broke through when James Woolford fooled everyone at dummy half. Returning from injury, Scott Briggs made his presence felt, setting up Lewis Schneider. 6 points up at the break, the second half well and truly belonged to Souths. A try to Steve Widders was followed up by a 4-pointer to hooker Liam Higgins, making it 24-6. When Widders grabbed a double, the Lions had secured the 2 points, joining Wests at the top of the real NRL ladder.
They're our next frontline fighter. The first F-35s will be operating at Williamtown from 2018, replacing the ageing FA-18s. Today came the EIS, predicting that parts of Madawi will experience an increase in the number of noise events above 70 and 85 decibels, with 5 to 10 more per day compared to the current Hornets. Bev Mail has lived at Saltash, close to the weapons range, since 1998. She says it's like living in a war zone.
We have actually left home to get away from it. So, they drive us out. It's a total injustice to the community surrounding the weapons range.
The Saltash range will become the main target area for the F-35A, being used 52 of 115 possible days, but with much higher movement rates.
With what I've read that's come out of the USA, they're going to be 2.5 times louder. The RAAF dispute this.
The report predicts that in general noise levels will be within a similar range to the Hornets, but there will be more night flying.
There will be extra noise, but it doesn't worry us.
We need our Air Force, we need to modernise it, keep up with it, because our shores need to be kept safe.
Community submissions close on September 19. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Christy O'Connor loves nothing more than spending time with her beautiful daughter Chloe. But like most parents, she also needs to work to support her family. This single mother had to resign from her job for the simple fact that she can't secure childcare, despite being on several waiting lists for 2 years.
They don't even tell you how you're going on a waiting list or what's going on the waiting list or anything.
Christy's story is a frustrating reality for thousands of Newcastle families. Labor MP Pat Conroy himself has been waiting for daycare for his daughter for more than a year. He claims federal budget cuts are contributing to parents' struggles.
If we return that money, centres like this could expand and we get new centres growing up.
Childcare workers themselves say they can't keep up with demand.
If you put your name down today, it'll probably be about 2.5 years before we can actually offer you a spot here.
With a lack of government support, some providers are taking it upon themselves to try to ease the strain. An incredible waiting list of more than 1,000 at its Waratah facility prompted Tilly's Play and Development Centre to open a supersized one literally down the road. Catering for 162 kids a day, the multi-million-dollar centre is already fully booked for the infant age group and has a waiting list.
0 to 2 require a lot of extra number to children to staff ratios, so they're quite expensive, and I think there needs to be higher funding for 0 to 2 placement. It might encourage people to take more.
Family day carer Robin Ann Lavelle has become so popular she had to take her phone number off her website.
I'm still getting occasionally up to 6 contacts a day, and I've got people now who are lining up for 2017 of my intake.
She's spending $200,000 to expand her home to create a boutique centre where she and 2 staff will be able to care for 12 children a day. All the experts agree there is no quick fix, so the only thing already desperate parents can do is wait.
If it's an infant under 2, you probably need to put your name down not long after you found out you're pregnant if you need care.
But with waiting lists in excess of 2 years, that may not be enough. Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Some of the facilities they've got in PNG are somewhat basic, and this will mean that both the nurses and the patients will receive a better standard of health care.
We've actually collected around 700,000 kilos of food in those 4 years, which is the equivalent of over 2 million meals. It's incredible.
I think it's great, yeah. That's why we came in to have a look and just see what they were doing.
I had no idea actually, so it's pretty enlightening.
When the chant for Alex come out, I was just trying to hold it together pretty well up until that stage, and it was pretty emotional, but it really does show the support and the town getting behind someone in need, and I really would like to thank the whole crowd and everyone who attended yesterday.
At recovery this morning, the players were still coming to terms with yesterday's loss and the hype surrounding Rise for Alex round, unaware Wayne Bennett had agreed to return to Brisbane.
I don't read the papers. I don't know what Wayne's doing. Whatever he does, good on Wayne.
With a replacement at Newcastle yet to be announced, it seems the players are hoping Bennett will stay until the end of the season.
For me, I like him. He's taught me a lot. And I think he's made me a better player, so I wish he would stay, but it's his decision, and I'm looking forward just to finishing the era for him good.
There's growing speculation Darius Boyd won't follow Bennett back to the Broncos. The players we spoke to appear to be staying in the Hunter.
I think I went through a fair bit to get here from Cronulla, so no, I'll love to stay here, got another year next year, and just hopefully I'll get re-signed.
I'm contracted here for another 2 years.
So you're happy to stay?
Yeah, I'm here for the time being, yeah.
As for yesterday's performance, there were a few excuses.
Our execution was off, and we didn't give ourselves a chance to win the game. And
that's what we've been doing all year. We'll play good for a few weeks and then play like that, and it's just pretty disappointing.
Leading his Rosellas through another successful season, Jermaine Ailes' year came crashing down last weekend when he snapped his Achilles during the loss to the Butcher Boys.
I had surgery on Saturday morning, and the surgeon said it all went really well. All got obviously reattached and on the road to recovery.
The country representative has dismissed any thoughts of retirement. Doctors believe he'll be back playing in 6 months.
If anything else, touch wood, happens, I'll throw her in, but yeah, for now, I'm happy to get back on the rehab and come back and play.
To the A-League, and Newcastle is reportedly close to signing ex-Brisbane midfielder Eric Partaloo. The Jets have also added former player Neil Young as their new goalkeeping coach. Meanwhile, Northern New South Wales officials are waiting for the referee's report before deciding whether to take any action following a brawl at yesterday's clash between Edgeworth and Lambton. In more positive news, player registration numbers for the Hunter are the highest they've been since 2005. Publicity from the World and Asian Cups could see numbers grow even more.
The Asian Cup's in January and we start recruiting for the following season on February 1. So I would hope that we're going to see a big increase next season in 2015.
The dawn of a new era. After a decade of planning, light rail is finally running along the Glitter Strip.
I reckon they're pretty good, actually, pretty modern.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's fantastic.
It was a huge project, $1.2 billion, 14 trams and 16 stations along a 13-kilometre route.
But you're now seeing what $1 billion piece of infrastructure will do for the Gold Coast.
Now many eyes, including here in Newcastle, are on just how it goes.
Everybody's looking to see how the Gold Coast has got away as a PPP. It's been successful into operations and will operate for the next 15 years. But I think it's going to be a model that's rolled out for public transport in the future.
While similar in population, our light rail is going to be on a much smaller scale.
The light rail's coming, that's fantastic. Applaud the state government for that initiative. What are we going to do now? That is the conversation. Where is the light rail going to go and how do we want it to go as a region?
Todd Williams lists the university, Hunter Stadium and the hospital among the possibilities.
You've got to go from somewhere where people are to where people want to go. And I think in the Gold Coast, it may be a little bit easier with that density along the coastline. But for us in the Hunter, we can definitely learn from them.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
These are the sorts of things we've been fighting for the last 3 years and we'll continue to fight. The services in our hospital system ought to be improving and the government should be investing in those services.
It seems for some, the pressure of looking good is a burden, heavier than any weight.
There really seems to be a pressure there to get results as soon as possible.
Body image is now the third greatest issue of concern for young Australians. Julia Coffey is a lecturer in sociology and her recent study unearthed some worrying findings.
The pressure for men around men's body image is to be muscular and to be strong. If you don't fit into that norm, then yeah, you can be picked on, and that can lead to obviously mental health concerns, but that's linked to the increase in use of steroids as well.
Eva's Heath is a personal trainer and believes a more holistic approach to exercise is vital.
It has to become part of your lifestyle. You can't just get into shape for 2 months, summertime of the year, and expect to maintain that.
The study found media images, along with social media and celebrity culture, are all playing a part in terms of male body image.
Looks are everything.
Do you think that's a worry?
It is a bit of a worry.
I want to do further research to see how people negotiate these things over time, because it isn't sustainable.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
A short walk after a very long trek. Glenn Turner back home for tests after a 2,000-kilometre walk through Europe. The Hunter Medical Research Institute chairman retraced an ancient pilgrimage, the Via Francigena, from Canterbury in England to Rome in Italy, blogging the twists and turns of his 66-day solo adventure along the way. The physical benefits are obvious. Glenn shed 14 kilos, but it's the more hidden ones he's really trying to uncover. Glenn underwent a series of tests before he left and is doing them all again now, looking at the benefits of exercise on the so-called 3 Ds: diabetes, depression and dementia.
Moderate exercise over a period of time is supposed to show an improvement in the connectivity of the functions of the brain, and hopefully we'll be able to show that.
And he says it doesn't take a 2,000-kilometre trek to get results.
What I did over the 66 days you can turn is equivalent to 1 hour a day over a year, and that's the parallel.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Mate, I reckon he should go. I reckon get Rick Stone in there and get the boys to rally behind him.
Mate, he should stay the rest of the season, I think. He's been a good coach for Newcastle.
So you're not being disloyal?
No, not at all.
Ray Watt Oval at Newcastle University is a world away from New York City. And that's exactly what Johnny Steele wanted.
I'm ready to sort of settle down a bit and be around somewhere a bit quieter and, concentrate even more on football. New York's a fast life, and I think Sydney would be the same.
The 28-year-old admits he had offers from other A-League clubs, but conversations with New York teammates David Carney and Tim Cahill steered him towards the Jets.
I had a couple of sniffs around in England and whatever, but to be honest with you, I just wanted a challenge. It's something new. I'd been in America 10 years. I've been in England when I was younger, and I just wanted a new challenge.
The Northern Irishman has hit the ground running since arriving yesterday.
He's done everything right, and he looks as though he's got a goal in him. And he's certainly somebody that's prepared to work hard. I think he's got the best name in the A-League, by the way, in Johnny Steele, and I think that sort of adds to what he actually brings to the table. It is a bit of steel.
The midfielder will see limited game time tomorrow when the A-League squad takes on the youth team in a trial at Western. Scott Neville and Marcos Flores will miss the game as they continue to recover from surgery. While there's a host of new faces at training, goalkeeping coach Neil Young has made a welcome return. Having put his body on the line for the Jets, he'll now try to pass that attitude on to the current keepers.
You play for the shirt and, you work hard for the team. I think, if you give all on the pitch, which I did for Newcastle, I think, and that's what I try and install into the goalkeepers.
Young believes Ben Kennedy has improved since they played together. He's also keen to work with Mark Birighitti as the fight to wear the gloves in round 1 heats up.
It's great competition to have. I mean, they both know that they've got to fight for number 1, and that's what I like.
They're the pint-sized state champions with a whole heap of personality. They're called the Firecrackers, and next week they're aiming higher. They'll be competing against the top teams around the country on the Gold Coast.
You just never know the level of the other teams until you get there, and we are so proud of them no matter what.
The girls qualified after winning the state competition last month. It's a discipline that's 1/3 technique, 1/3 personality and 1/3 presentation, not to mention hours of practice.
They can put up to 6 hours in on the weekend, and that's 2 hours as well on Friday afternoons, and then lunchtimes during the week as well. So they give up a lot of their time with their friends to train.
But the Firecrackers wouldn't have it any other way.
I get to dance with my friends, and my mum and dad and my family get to see me perform.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News. Off the back of last night's move to privatise 4 pools, more than 100 Newcastle Council staff today met with union officials in Civic Park. Citing cost-cutting and subsequent job losses, union members supported a motion of no confidence in the General Manager.
And hopefully there's a solution for them, but unfortunately 220 years of experience doesn't mean much at Newcastle City Council.
Lambton, Mayfield and Wallsend pools will be leased to Queensland-based company Lane 4 for 5 years and Stockton for 3. Council says the move will also provide better poolside service for swimmers, but admits there's no cap when it comes to entry costs.
The challenge to them is to improve the patronage of the pools. And realistically, by putting prices up, it's not necessarily going to encourage more people to come to the pools.
But Council will continue to manage its Beresfield pool, but many say it's a sign the end is near.
This council has pushed its agenda of cuts on the back of a budget emergency. Pools, the golf course, what next?
We are concerned about the fact that it's got the lowest patronage of all the pools and it's in steady decline. And realistically, we can't keep going in operating under those circumstances.
Council also voted to open expressions of interest for the redevelopment of both the Merriweather and Newcastle Ocean Baths pavilions.
%40 of the services delivering high quality services, high care services to people with disability in the state will close.
Stepping inside a brand new home is exciting for anyone, but for Jenna Lee, this was unlocking the door to independence. Today, she took a look inside her new 2-bedroom villa.
What are you looking forward to the most about moving in?
To learn to live on my own.
Jenna Lee's unit and the one next door are the first of 20 to be built throughout the Hunter and Central Coast by Compass Housing. It's teamed up with Ability Options, who will provide support for the clients.
It's called supported living, so they are here on their own, and then we have scheduled times that our staff come and visit them and help them with their daily activities. It might be things like shopping or even just keeping their house nice and tidy.
20 people have been selected to take up the housing, and already there's about a dozen more on the waiting list.
We're there looking after the building and we're providing the support services, so we hope to be able to do more of these in the future.
The total cost of the project is $9 million, most of which has come from the federal government's Supported Accommodation Investment Fund. Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
University of Newcastle researchers joined the worldwide effort to uncover the genetic secrets of schizophrenia. 150,000 people took part, 37,000 of which had a confirmed diagnosis of schizophrenia, making it the largest genome study ever conducted into the disease. And according to Professor Rodney Scott, the findings are remarkable.
Up until this report, there were really only 7 or 8 genetic factors associated with schizophrenia, and it wasn't clear how they impacted on the disease. This report now has detailed about 108 genetic loci associated with schizophrenia risk.
With this improved understanding, scientists have gained the ability to identify new risk factors for the disease.
It gives us finally the avenues by which we can understand the mechanisms underlying the disorder, so that we can intervene and develop new potential drugs that will allow you to specifically target what's going on in this disorder.
While the data doesn't allow scientists to predict if someone will develop the disease, it potentially could help doctors intervene before someone at risk of schizophrenia develops symptoms.
You could screen individuals for these particular changes, and you could identify a probability score as to whether or not they're more likely to develop the disease or not.
Madeline McKell, NBN News.
One of the game's stars on the field. Today it was revealed Darius Boyd has been battling a serious off-field matter, depression. This morning he checked himself into a mental health clinic in Sydney, a move praised by his mentor Wayne Bennett.
That he's recognised he's obviously got a problem, and it's a self-admission one. He's come to this conclusion himself.
A tribute to Alex McKinnon on last Thursday's footy show, a small indication of Boyd's own struggle.
Even for me personally, I had some struggles with footy this year, and he's been telling me to be upbeat and be positive.
On the same night that went to air, Boyd and his wife were reportedly at the Vintage in the Hunter Valley, where $1,500 worth of damage was done to the room they were staying in.
Late last week, he started to talk more about it. Was obviously in need of help, and in the end he realised that he needed to get some professional help.
Club CEO Matt Gidley released a statement this morning saying, "We're ensuring Darius gets the best possible care and treatment," and adding depression is a serious illness in our society and we're pleased Darius has taken the first step in his recovery.
Explains a little bit of, maybe what we see in Darius. We all try to work out what's actually going on with him.
Michael Kane, NBN News. The Jets youth have suffered 2 losses on the trot, but the man who believes in them most is keeping the faith.
My boys, in their absolute best form, are a massive challenge for any team that we play against.
2 points clear at the top of the National Premier League ladder with only 3 matches remaining, a minor premiership is in sight. But with striker Brendan Lundy taking a spot in Phil Stubbins' senior squad and Radovan Pavicevic succumbing to injury, the Jets' campaign is starting to stall.
Radovan was a blow. He's a boy that wouldn't be... I don't think he'd let you down if he got A-League minutes at the moment. So I'm sure he's someone that Phil will get to know quite well once he recovers.
The youth team has no home ground, so playing away is the weekly norm.
It's a very fair and valid point, and a lot of clubs know very well how to play on their own ground. If I spring to mind places like South Cardiff and even Charlestown, tighter, smaller little pitches, they have a very distinct style of play.
Tonight, Pascoe's side will head to Western to play the A-League squad.
It's a good opportunity for Phil to see the boys. He gets to most games. But yeah, it's a case where if people put their best foot forward, that'll be remembered.
Meanwhile, senior Jets keeper Mark Birighitti has been chosen in the A-League All-Stars squad for its match against Serie A champions Juventus on August 10. Michael Kane, NBN News.
In 2010, Claire Dunn went wild. For 12 months, the environmental campaigner gave up the comforts of home to rough it on the state's north coast.
I was just so busy, it wasn't just the job, it was just life in the cities, just inherently busy, and I started to feel like I'd lost connection with myself, and I just started to do these short courses in wilderness survival skills, and it was like getting bitten by a bug. I just knew I had to go bush.
Claire spent 2 months building and waterproofing her new home, a crude igloo-like structure. Most days were spent gathering food, although learning to hunt presented a new challenge.
It was a really big, hard decision to decide to take a life and to actually set a trap that snared me a wallaby.
Today, there were far more civilised scenes for Claire as she shared her journey secrets at East Maitland during a book signing. My Year Without Matches took 3 years to complete, but she believes it was all worth it.
A lot of people yearn for this sense of what if they could escape their life and go bush for a year, and so I wanted to give people that sense of what it might be like.
Madeline McKell, NBN News.
I met new friends here, like from Mexico and Ukraine and like from everywhere, from Hungary.
And by the end of the week, they're firm friends and they stay in touch for a long time afterwards.
Little Birdwood Park was a crime scene yesterday after a 43-year-old man was stabbed in the chest just metres from Marketown Shopping Centre. Police are still hunting the male attacker.
I believe they are known to each other, so it's certainly not a random incident.
For years, the park has been a popular gathering place for recovering addicts.
We go get our methadone and we come here, and this is our social scene. We have
We let our hair down, you know, we talk.
The area has also become a hotspot for violence. Earlier this month, another man was stabbed in an adjoining alleyway. Nearby business owners have had enough.
Well, we'd like to see Hunter New England Health, put in a new management program rather than just doing the administration of the methadone and then letting the people loose out onto the street.
And business owners aren't the only people becoming frustrated with the antisocial element in Newcastle's West End. Shoppers and even taxi drivers say they've become frightened of what appears to be increasing levels of violence in the area.
A lot of the older drivers actually won't work this area because they're worried.
I just take a detour if I see any of them.
Police are planning high visibility operations to try and deter any further crime. Madeline McKell, NBN News.
A few years ago, it was crumbling before our eyes. The bogey hole needed an urgent fix after becoming a danger to swimmers. In 2011, the state government awarded a tender.
$360,000 to reinvigorate and rebirth the bogey hole.
The money spent on a swimming platform, new stairs and safety chains.
The $360,000 upgrade was opened in September 2012, but less than 2 years later, it's off limits due to safety concerns, leaving many locals scratching their heads.
The composite fibre decking and bolts on the swimming platform have been washed away due to recent big seas.
How they've designed it has obviously failed to work, and I preferred it when it was just the natural steps going down, even though it was slippery and dangerous. Now we've got this sort of quite ugly structure.
It's a structural engineer's job. He should be able to say what sort of weather we get here and what he should be designing for.
But architect Barney Collins says there was nothing wrong with the engineering or the structure. He's questioning the level of maintenance by Crown Lands. The department today confirmed the bogey hole will be repaired. That could prove costly as the builder's warranty recently expired. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
I think technology is past the kiosk booth. A lot of people have got that information at their fingertips with their smartphones.
Newcastle, Australia, the home of HMRI. It's local, but its work is worldly, with connections across Asia, Europe and America.
We do get to work with people from all different cultures and backgrounds and from different parts of the world, and it just makes us richer and stronger as human beings, I think.
Technology, of course, has made international collaboration easy and convenient. And today, HMRI began a 24-hour blog fest to highlight the many connections.
And more you can't do research isolated by yourself. You really need to reach out both to other people for methods that they have that you perhaps don't have, but also to get large data sets.
These are some of the researchers who've contributed blogs about their work, with expertise in areas ranging from genetics to diseases like diabetes and asthma. For them, it's true that research never rests.
You think that you've got something done for the day, you send it off to your colleagues overseas, and the next morning you get up early, 5:30 in the morning, and there's a whole list of comments and questions.
It's totally inspirational to see what's going on here locally but making an impact internationally, and I think that's really important for us as researchers when you do the hard work and put in the long hours to think that it actually makes a difference.
The blog blitz continues tonight on HMRI's website.
We then asked the students to give us solutions and how we can change her life. Once the kids give us solutions, we then redo the play with their solutions, and the victim, her life then becomes better.
They're wanting to do something different. They're wanting to see what they can do to make their home special.
It's been a tough few days for many, particularly Wayne Bennett. An emotional loss to the Gold Coast calls for him to leave the job early, and Darius Boyd being given indefinite leave for personal reasons. But the Supercoach today had some good news about his star fullback.
I did speak to him this morning. Yeah, he's pretty settled and happy about what the process has happened in the last 24 hours.
Tomorrow night, the side faces the defending premiers, who are just starting to hit their straps.
Well, they're a quality football team, the premiers, and they're not far off the pace again. Probably just a little bit of hangover from winning the premiership. That's been their biggest obstacle this year.
The Knights threw away a half-time lead over the Roosters in round 14.
We had a lot of players missing that night, and I was really proud of that effort. And so I just hope we can come in tomorrow night and maybe get a bit of confidence out of that, knowing that we can stand up and hold our own for the whole game this time instead of just 40 minutes.
Kurt Gidley will miss the match due to injury, with Tyrone Roberts slotting in at halfback, while brothers Sione and Chanel Martaltia will make their first-grade debuts.
Both of them had different journeys to get here, I can tell you. Sione was here when I first arrived playing under 20s. Chanel, well, he was the same. He's improved a great deal as well.
Michael Kane, NBN News. After an encouraging win over the Hawks, Maitland is keen to keep the ball rolling against a side that's won 13 straight.
We play a tough brand of football, and this week Wanderers won't have to go far to find the football. They know where it'll be.
The Blacks need to win 4 out of their last 5 matches to make the finals.
The feeling's there. The beliefs are in the players. Definitely their season hasn't finished as far as they're concerned. Doesn't matter where we are on the ladder, they're still keen.
Maitland fly half Josh McCormack agrees.
Once you get into the finals, all bets are off, and we feel if we get there, we can make a charge for that top 4 and maybe knock off a Hamilton or a Waratah.
And there's a trophy for a worthy cause that's up for grabs. The Headspace Cup is in its inaugural year between the two clubs, with the winner determined by the aggregate score over all 4 grades.
It's a great initiative for both clubs to just get involved and get behind youth mental health.
The main objective behind it is to make sure that the young men realise that talking about and expressing and seeking help in that area is okay. It's not a weakness.
In other round 14 matches, Lake Macquarie is at home to Easts. The Greens play Hamilton, Southern Beaches take on the defending premiers, and the Students host Nelson Bay. Michael Kane, NBN News.
Slowly but surely, Newcastle's $94 million courthouse is taking shape. The 7-storey building will boast 10 courtrooms, making it the largest courthouse development in regional New South Wales since the 1800s, when it opens in 10 months' time. But it's the fate of the current courthouse that's sparking plenty of interest, despite expressions of interest not opening until early 2015.
Few developers have looked at it. There are some issues in terms of how it's got to be developed, because it is a very heritage building. It's got to be very sympathetic. There's a lot of work being done, I understand, in that context by some people who are interested.
And there are plenty of ideas about what the future holds for the heritage-listed building.
And I wouldn't mind seeing some sort of a mix, like we're seeing all around the city, with possibly some retail, maybe commercial and some residential.
Meanwhile, planning controls approved by the state government mean the height of one of 3 high-rise towers planned for the Hunter Street Mall will be slashed from 20 storeys to 17.
When you're doing a development such as this that you know you're going to enrage the community on, well, you go for much more than what you're expecting to achieve.
The move will mean that Christchurch Cathedral will remain the highest building on the city's skyline. But not everyone's happy, saying the changes aren't enough.
They don't solve any problems, they're minimal, it's cynical politics, and it's not a compromise, it's a joke.
Christy Reading, NBN News.
I knew I couldn't, use my hands because they're pretty dangerous.
But what we can see is that construction has improved. We're seeing some drops in healthcare and social assistance. We're also seeing some drops in manufacturing and a mild drop in retail.
One day short of his 81st birthday, Alan Lockyer today made a donation to the Red Cross Blood Bank for the last time. After saving at least 1,500 lives, he's having to hang up his donor hat because only those under 80 years of age are permitted.
Very sad. I'm going to miss coming in to donate because it helps a lot of people.
It's a routine that's helped Alan make some lifelong friends, and one that began after an accident claimed the life of a friend.
I was a shunter in Broadmeadow Yards and he got killed and I decided to come and donate.
In the decades he's been rolling up his sleeves, Alan has made 516 blood, platelet or plasma donations. Not a bad total considering donors were once only allowed to give blood every 6 months.
Great. Feels like you're number one.
It's efforts like Alan's and the region's thousands of donors that's prompted the Red Cross to move its centre in preparation for an increase in donor demand. In mid-2015, the service will move to a more central location on New Lambton Road at Broadmeadow.
And the new centre that we're having will help us to meet that projected need over the next 20 years. But it's also a nice thank you to our donors to give them a nicer facility to donate blood in.
Christy Reading, NBN News.
They're a bit younger than the council workers, but today these students worked just as hard. More than 100 students got their hands dirty planting 1,500 trees at a site in Mayfield.
You just dig some soil, put the plants in, put some nutrients, and then put the soil back again, and then put some water and mulch.
School's Tree Day also helps students to develop a sense of respect and ownership of the world around them.
Trees and animals are very important. Otherwise, if we didn't have animals, the world would be a different place.
For Newcastle City Council, that's an important message.
Over time, they'll appreciate some of the urban forests we've got growing in and around Newcastle, which is excellent, and potentially reduce vandalism over the years.
Staff from Blackbutt Reserve were also on hand with a reptile display, giving students a chance to see what sort of creatures will soon call this area home. This isn't the first time that Tree Day has come to Mayfield. This site here has been used for tree planting for the past 2 years. The results of that hard work is now obvious. Work is set to continue here on Sunday, where a community day will see another 1,000 trees planted. Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
For a club with a proud history, the Butcher Boys haven't had much to cheer about in recent years. With a young coach making his first grade debut, Central made a shaky start to 2014. One win from the opening 7 rounds.
I suppose, your first year you never exactly know where you're going to end up. Probably 2 months ago now I was a little bit concerned that we'd be battling for the spoon.
Since then, they've won 6 straight.
Whatever happens, happens, but we're really enjoying ourselves at the moment, and improving's our main thing.
Standing in the way of 7 wins on the trot is the Macquarie Scorpions.
They've got a quality roster. They're definitely a team that's a premiership threat, that's for sure. And, they're big, they're physical, and they've got some really good halves and some speed out wide. So, we need to be on our game for the 80 minutes.
The skipper credits Matt Lantry with bringing a new level of professionalism to the club.
I think this year we've got good coaching staff around us and who have really made the boys accountable for their actions coming to training and their efforts in the games.
The efforts of hooker Jace Delaney and prop Cruz Wilson haven't gone unnoticed. Lantry says they've been exceptional during the winning streak, helping to knock off the previously undefeated Rosellas in round 13 without influential playmaker Tom Liddon. Despite being the elder statesman of the side, Captain Rowan Kelly is considered the glue that holds the team together.
I love captaining these boys. As I said, they stir me up, but it's an honour to lead them and lead this proud club.
In other round 15 games, Souths will look to maintain top spot when they travel to Cessnock. Maitland plays Lakes and Curry hosts the Sharks.
This car's got a lot more power, it's got a little bit more grip. You can drive in the corners harder and it just comes out of the corner like a rocket, so it's good, I like it.
Placed well in some state titles and nationals, but never got that point. So hopefully this weekend we can do it.
We no longer get disqualified for hitting a pylon. It gets a 2-second penalty instead. The first 2 pylons, if you hit 3 pylons in one run, you're out.